Almost every action we take is the result of past learning, yet, for some people, learning still remains an activity undertaken in, or associated with, an educational context. Learning is a natural, organic, central, and fundamental human institution, the most essential part of human existence, ability to learn. A lot of our learning occurs randomly throughout life, from new experiences, gaining information, and from our perceptions, for example, reading a newspaper or watching a news broadcast, talking with a friend or colleague, chance meetings and unexpected experiences, teaching, training, and other structured learning opportunities are activities that one person does to another. While learning is something we can only do for ourselves. Learning involves far more than thinking, it involves the whole personality, senses, feelings, intuition, beliefs, values, and will.
When does learning begin? Now, as you ponder that question, maybe you're thinking about the first day of preschool or kindergarten, the first time that kids are in a classroom with a teacher. Or maybe you've called to mind the toddler phase, when children are learning how to walk, and talk and use a fork. Maybe you've encountered the 0 to 3 movement, which asserts that the most important years for learning are the earliest ones. And so your answer to our question would be, learning begins at birth. Muffled or not, unborn babies seem to develop a fine ear for certain sounds. Research reveals that babies had their first lessons in their native language, while still in utero. Fetuses are also being taught about the particular culture that they will be joining through one of culture's most powerful expressions, which is food. They are being introduced to the characteristics, flavors, and spices of their culture's cuisine even before birth. The development of the brain starts during the 3rd week of pregnancy with approximately 125,000 cells, and increases at the rate of 250,000 every minute. By the 8th week, connections are starting to form between the neurons called synapses. At this time also, according to the book A Child is Born, everything that will be found in the fully developed human being has been established.
Now, how part of the learning? How we learn? What entails learning? What is the brain got to do with it? It is a paradox that the organ that lets you understand the world understands so little about itself. The brain loves to learn, fundamentally, that is its job. From the earliest conversion of the basic sensory input an infant sees, hears and feels, to the ongoing adaptations and growth we experience throughout adult life, our brains are changing, restructuring and learning. When you go to sleep tonight, it is with a brain that has changed as a result of today's learnings, and when you wake up tomorrow, with new consolidated memories, more learning awaits you. Short-term memory acts as a kind of scratch pad for temporary recall of the information which is being processed at any point in time. It can be thought of as the ability to remember and process information at the same time. It holds a small amount of information in mind in an active, readily available for a short period of time. Short-term memories to become long-term memory through the process of consolidation, involving rehearsal and meaningful association. The establishment of long-term memory involves a process of physical change in the structure of neurons in the brain. At its simplest, whenever something is learned, circuits of neurons in the brain, known as neural networks, are created, altered or strengthened. These neural circuits are composed of a number of neurons that communicate one another through its special junctions called synapses. We do not recall memories, we reconstruct them. The working assumption has been that we store memories in a fixed form, like video footage of our experiences, then replay the tape when we recall that memory. Emerging research shows that we reconstruct our memories each time we draw on them. And because the brain is plastic, each memory is influenced by our experiences since we stored it, our current context, and our psychological predispositions. In this regard, our memories are unstable or fluid. Learning, as new information must take this route to be embedded as acquired skills and knowledge. So, learning programs that begin at 8:30 a.m. and cram content back to back until 5:30 p.m., with only brief comfort and food breaks, actually contravene our biological limitations and invariably limit learning uptake. The law of diminishing returns applies to learning due to our cognitive capacity. We need to respect our biology more and work with, not against, its limitations. The same as weightlifter building muscles, in educational context, building neural structure take time. If we cram the information, it affects the neural foundation. Learning with understanding is required to build strong foundation of neural structure for future recall. This needs an scientific understanding of how we learn. Now the where part of the learning. When we think of learning, the first thing come drifting our mind is the images of formal institutions such as schools, universities, etc. This form of education is derived 200 years back without any grip on how human learn. This system was created by King Frederick that was engineered to teach obedience and solidify his control, following directions, basic skills, and conformity. Today's system is like our fast food chains. It is standardized and has no nutrients. Education means nourish. The main purpose is to draw out rather than put in. Learning is a lifelong journey that takes place anytime and everywhere. It is interesting for the learner to access unlimited resources, thanks to digital networked infrastructure, and connection with other learners at the same time. Let's begin the journey by asking why learning? Why it should be organic, a narrowed aspect of learning being formed and used, and it is being used to form formal institutions. For formal learning, the practices and systems are standardized procedures. Without having any understanding on our learning organ brain, science of learning is new field developed to understand how human learn better. We call for a common efforts in which learning practices can be transformed by science, just as medical practice was transformed by science about a century ago. When did doctors start washing their hands? Images to be added. Until the 1800s, surgeons did not wash their hands before performing surgery. In fact, they didn't even wash their hands between treating patients, which means they often transmitted diseases from one patient to another. A 19th century doctor named Ignaz Semmelweis discovered that hand washing could dramatically reduce death rates. Although his theory was met with skepticism, today we know that hand washing is vital for preventing diseases.